Hi everyone, this is Caly with craftincaly.wordpress.com. Thanks for joining me again today. I have another interactive card for you, which I have been completely mesmerized by lately. I bought a ton of Mama Elephant stuff during their last release, some holiday and some regular items, but this reindeer set is just too cute, so I had to use it for this card. It's called Reindeer Games, and this other one is called Jingle Greetings, and I'm just going to use the greeting at the top there that says it's time to jingle, and also one other stamp for the pulling mechanism on this card. So to start out with my background, I am going to use some distress ink to kind of watercolor. The colors are listed on the right there. I have the colors smushed onto a laminated piece of cardstock so that I can see what I'm doing, as well as be able to clean it up easily when I'm done. So I've added just water to this Canson XL watercolor paper, and then I'm just going to add the colors. And it doesn't look too great. It never looks too great, I feel like, when I'm doing it. But when it's all said and done and dried, watercolor is watercolor. So anyway, I add as much color to this as I needed to, and then I dried it. And now I'm just going to sprinkle some water onto this watercolor piece using some droplets with some sprayed water into my hands. I'm cleaning the surface with my absorber there, and I decided there were some droplets missing to the left, so I added a few more and then picked it up again with my absorber. And when this panel is done, I'm just going to set it aside and let that dry. And I'm going to stamp these reindeer here. I have 3 onto some Neenah Solar White cardstock so that I can color with Copic markers. Now I'm going to color these reindeers in the exact same colors for all 3 reindeer, except Rudolph's nose is going to be red. So the colors are, the caps are to the left there, so you can see what colors I'm using. There's one that you can't see too well, and it's the one that's darker than this. It's going to be an E47, which I'll use here in a little bit to darken up the antlers. So again, I'm using the exact same colors and the exact same method on each of these reindeer. I'm going to add that E47 now. The cap's going to be to the left a little bit, and it's going to be hard to see. But I'm just going to go back with the E57 and blend out the antlers a little bit and darken up the hoofs at the bottom. I used some gold Copic for the collar, and you can't really see it, so I mean, use any color that you want, but it didn't show up too well. So when I'm done with all 3, I'm going to add some blush using R20, and then I'm going to blend it out again using the E53, I believe. And then you don't see it here, but I spent a long time cutting out the Creative Cuts matching dies to cut out these reindeer. And once I set these reindeer on my watercolor piece, I decided it doesn't really look too great. So I decided I would try something different and use some water to kind of paint some clouds onto this watercolor piece to get some more white to show from this paper. And I think it turned out pretty good. And at this point I decided to go ahead and add the sentiment using some Versafine black Onyx ink, and so I can emboss it with clear embossing powder. So I'll heat set that once I am done adding the powder to this, and it makes the sentiment look nice and crisp as well as shiny and raised a little bit. So it just brings it out above this watercolor piece. To make these clouds stand out, I'm using a white Jelly Roll pen, and I'm just going to draw in some quick faux stitching. Again, it gives it some dimension, and it just brings out the clouds a little bit. I'm using some Stampin' Up! Dimensionals. I'm going to add it to the back of these reindeer. There's going to be 2 pieces on each of these reindeer that I'm adding now. And then for the pull mechanism, it's going to be on this center deer. I am going to use my Stampin' Pierce mat, and I'm going to use my piercing tool to determine where I want the pulling mechanism to start. And then I'm going to pierce a hole as big as I can, not too big, just enough for a brad to go through. And as far as the mechanism goes, like I said, you'll need a brad, and you'll also need a round 3M piece of foam tape. You can punch it out using a small round punch if you have it. These dimensionals just happen to be good and perfect. By the way, I got this idea from Sandy Allnock. She did a pulled spinner card a while back, and she said that she saw something on Pinterest that was done by Connie Stewart. So anyway, those are what I am referencing in this video. If you don't think that my video is good at explaining how to do this, you can definitely reference those videos. So here, only one side is sticky, is what the side that's facing up that you see. I'm putting my brad through it, and you could use any brad, just make sure that the top of the brad is as flat as possible, because you're going to use another Stampin' Dimensional to cover it up. So the two sticky sides are being pushed together right now to hold the brad there in place. The backing and the top of this brad or mechanism is not sticky. It still has its backing on it. So I'm going to put the brad through the cardstock, and then at this point I will pull off the top of this dimensional backing to go ahead and add my deer to it, my reindeer. And now I'm going to work on the actual mechanism. I'm just going to twirl the twine around it. And by the way, it's easier to spin the deer than it is to try and wrap the twine all the way around the deer antlers and all that. Kind of gets stuck a few times. So just pull on it and see if it pulls well enough. If it doesn't, try to loosen up the brad a little bit from the back. So I pulled it all together and put as much twine in there as I wanted, and then I trimmed it. And for a pulling stopper, and to indicate, you know, to the card recipient that you want them to pull on that, I'm using this little circular stamp from the Sentiments stamp set that I used for the It's Time to Jingle sentiment. And this 1/2 inch punch just happens to be perfect for this stamp. So I stamped it in real red Stampin' Up ink twice, and I'm going to punch them out, and then I'm going to glue them together onto this string. And I'm using multimedia matte glue, but then while I was putting this video together and editing it, I realized I should have just used a glue dot. That would have been a lot easier. Anyway, just hold it in place for a little bit and it will get nice and hard. And then I just use a Sharpie to write the word pull on it. You can use any marker or pen that you do have on hand. So anyway, to finish up the backing, I'm going to add some 3M foam tape. I want it to be raised a little bit so that nothing blocks that mechanism from spinning. So I thought this was a good option. And then for the card base, I have a 8.5 by 5.5 here that I'm going to score at 4 1/4, so that I can get a portrait top folding card. And then I'll remove the adhesive backing on the 3M foam tape for the top piece and just adhere that to my card base. And that is it. I am done, and I hope you enjoyed this card. I think it's super cute and it makes me super happy. Again, all the supplies that I know I used a lot will be listed below, as well as on my blog. I hope that you'll like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. To my followers, I appreciate you for watching as always, and I hope everyone has a great weekend. Bye-bye.